What is up, fellow roaders? I'm Joshua Thomas. Welcome to another Amateur Plays Kerbal Space program. Hope you'll learn some things by watching this video. So we're going to land a probe on the Mun, and I showed you last time my tech tree. So I'm working on the technology that's in the 90s as far as the cost and science. I'll go into more detail in it in the last video. But I'm playing in career mode, so that's important to let you know what kind of parts I have unlocked. And so we are going to attempt to land a successful probe on the moon. I'm going to control from my probe so that when I disconnect it, here we go. Now we have two separate ships, but we're controlling it from our probe. I'm not worried about our spaceship because it's already in an orbit around the Mun. It's not going to wreck into anything. So there are the antenna that at this point I realize, I'm like, why can't I do anything? Oh, it's because there's no power. So for one reason or another, yeah, I was looking up there like, what's the matter? Why don't I have a comm signal? For one reason or another, even though I have solar panels on this thing, the batteries were drained and there was no electrical charge. And so we're gonna skip over, and you'll see that I quickly just rotate over to where there's sunlight and start gaining an electrical charge, and then I just put it in hibernation for a while. But something strange happened here. I don't know if this is a glitch or a mistake that I made in the design of my vehicle, but even though I've got SAS on, this is something I don't realize until I attempt to start landing. But even though I have SAS, I don't have the green button that allows me to control the SAS. So essentially, even though I had it activated, it wasn't working. So I'll show you what that looked like here. It was a very unsuccessful landing. So we're going to fast forward to the landing here. Yeah, it was not good. So we're at 2,000 meters, still fast forwarding through here, and I'm attempting to just do all the small adjustments needed, just trying to keep this thing oriented properly, and I finally just lose control of it and am unable to gain it back and crash. Yep, there we go, into the Mun. And that was that. So thankfully, I had a quick save file, and I was able to go back, and so now you'll see here we have our SAS on, and you'll see that I have the green maneuver node that allows me to green maneuver node, and you'll see that I have the green button over to the left of our nav ball. So there we have it. It actually has full power also. So we'll go ahead and orient it on our target trajectory, which is pretty much retrograde. And you can see there's the green button I was talking about. So I actually do have SAS control, and it is so important. Here's our burn to get us in a landing. That was our burn to get us in position to land on the sunny side of the Mun. And there you can see we're going to land in what appears to be a decently smooth area. So let's fast forward and get to the good stuff. Pointing myself retrograde. When you land, you want to point yourself retrograde. The moon has no atmosphere, so that's good. It's going to make landing a whole lot easier. And so we're at 20,000 right now, and I just want to burn and slow myself down a little bit. Right now we're going over 400 meters per second, and I'm going to get myself down to 100 meters per second. And then we will see how things go from there. And so as we fall, we're going to gain meters per second, so we'll just have to constantly burn to adjust that. But I have over 1100 delta V left. That's going to be more than enough to land on the Mun. Hopefully. I say that's going to be more than enough, but this is only my second time doing it. So you can see that my retrograde marker is moving, and we just want to stick to that. And we'll fast forward. Alright, we'll just keep ourselves pointed retrograde. SAS is assisting us greatly, and I continue to just try to keep myself around less than 100 meters per second, and then now that I'm below 2,000 meters above the Mun's surface, I want to go even slower because those numbers at the top are counting down pretty fast. But if you look on our nav ball, our retrograde marker is perfectly centered at the very top of the nav ball. That's good. And now it's starting to drift off to the side, which means that we are moving a little bit left or right. We don't want to do that. Alright, we're going very slow now, a little too slow. For an amateur like me, it's very difficult to decide exactly where I want my speed to be, and also the engine that I put on this is a little more powerful than I expected, and I could have limited its thrust back in editing the vehicle itself, but I didn't, so it's a little overpowered too. But at this point in career mode, it's the smallest engine I have access to, and so yeah, we're just working with what we've got to attempt to accomplish the mission. Our retrograde marker was going way off course there. So what that means is I'm starting to drift one way or another. It doesn't look like it right now, but I'm drifting, which is going to make it hard. Okay, 50 meters. We are so close right now, and we want to slow down, but not so much that we start raising. And okay, we're raising now. That's the fine line right there. We want to make sure we're going slow enough to not crash into the surface. Did it again. Fumbled with my keyboard there and didn't cut my engine off in time. But we also want to make sure that we're going down, and we don't accidentally shoot ourselves up again. Let's miss. Okay, 7, 6, and up. There we go. Oh, we're so close, and let's make this touchdown. Touchdown! Oh. Oh, that was so close to being a perfect landing right there. So close. Can I right myself? Let's try. Let's see if I don't think the landing gear is going to be able to do it, but we'll try. So close to landing perfectly. I don't think the landing gear is going to do it. Let's just retract the antenna on that side. I put 2 antennas on there just to make it symmetrical. Probably didn't need it, but it is. It is what it is. Alright. Yeah, I think we were going to permanently stay on our side here, but yep, nothing we can really do. But the important thing is it's in one piece. And so now I can accomplish the mission by doing some science on the Mun's surface. So let's just see what's going to get us the most science when we transmit it. That is actually a lot of science right there. We're going to have, what, 70% of our total if we transmit it, as opposed to logging it and recovering it. So that's actually not bad. Let's do that. And it's transmitting. And it takes electricity to transmit it, but there we go. And we automatically gain the science when we transmit it. And if we look there, we can see that we accomplished that mission. And so we will get paid a good amount of money for accomplishing that. Let's see what else. That's actually not bad right there. We can... I'm not going to transmit it. Nah, I'm not going to transmit it. I'll save it for when we actually land on the Mun. Because if we transmit it, we're really not going to get the full value. So let's just save it and let a Kerbal recover that information. And then let's just see how much this would be worth. Significantly less. So that's only, if I transmit that information, it's only going to give me 42% of the maximum science value that I could get. We'll just save that too. So yeah, there we have it. We have successfully landed on the Mun. But there's still one thing left to do, and that's to get our spaceship back to Kerbal and land our astronauts alive. So let's do that. So we're gonna switch to our spaceship called the Escape Artist. And so once again, we have got, we're gonna do some science over here because we can gain more science points by doing that and bringing it home with us. Let me see what else. You'll see that heat shield on top, and the more seasoned players might be thinking, what is he doing? But that heat shield on top of the command pod has saved me multiple times. That's worth no science. We'll recycle that. Let's do an EVA. See if that's worth anything. We did an EVA last time, so that wasn't worth anything. We'll just recycle that. No point in saving it. Okay, so we got back in, turned our SAS back on to stabilize us. And real quick, I'll just check and see if I can log temperature and the barometric pressure. Nothing worth saving there. Don't get any science points for that. And we'll log temperature, and we don't get any science points for that either. Okay. Alright. Checking my fuel there. I like the design of that spaceship. I'm actually kind of happy with that. Okay, so let's make a maneuver node. I think about right there is where it's going to need to be to encounter Kerbal. And you can see there, it's a very faint line. I don't know if you can see it on the video. You can see my apoapsis moving. And it's gonna... it takes me a while to figure out the best orbit. So when you do yours, just I try to get as good of an elliptical orbit as possible. Move that around just to see how the elliptical orbit's going to look. That seems pretty good. And let's warp to the maneuver. So there's Kerbal in the distance. We're going to burn prograde, and that's pretty much where our target is, so that's good. Gonna get to our maneuver. Since we're so far away from Kerbal, it doesn't take a lot of delta V or a long burn time. And there we have it. And we are on our way back to Kerbal. I'm gonna go retrograde to see if I can fix that, make it a little bit better. And no, it's not doing anything. Let's go back to prograde. Just burn a little bit to fix it. Okay. Alright, we were trying to make it as elliptical as possible, but at this point we're just kind of wasting delta V's. So there it is in all of its glory. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna create another maneuver node and just see how much delta V I can, the minimum amount I can use to get back to Kerbin. Once again, Amature at work here, so I know at periapsis it's supposed to be the best, but I know the further away you are from Kerbin, the less delta V you have to use, so let's see. What is that? Yeah, we've got 560, we've got 1,000 delta V left, so that'll work. Alright, we fast forwarded to our next maneuver node. Let's line ourselves up. You can see the nav ball right there. I'm lining myself up to burn retrograde. That's where our target is. Now we just fast forward a little bit to get to our proper time in our maneuver node. There we go. This is very straightforward burn here. That's pretty good. Alright, let's see how much delta V we're going to need to actually land on Kerbin. And try to get ourselves somewhat closer to Kerbal Space Center. Let's see how much delta V it's going to take us. Do we have enough? Yes, we do. Yep, so pretty much 1,000 delta V was what we needed to get from the Mun back to Kerbin and actually land safely. So the reason that we want to get into an orbit like this around Kerbin first, instead of just like going straight to Kerbin from the Mun and landing, is that we're essentially falling if we go straight to it. So we want to orbit Kerbin before we actually land, because our speed, whenever we burn retrograde, we reduce our speed a great amount. And if we had just fallen straight from the Mun to Kerbin and tried to go into the atmosphere and land, we would be going so fast that our parachutes wouldn't be able to open, which is a mistake I made early on when I was just started playing the game. I'll probably make a separate video that just kind of explains that. I'll probably also talk about doing atmospheric braking. Here's the burn. All right. 3, 2, 1, 0. It's pretty good. All right, so we are now going to land on Kerbin. And the thing is, Kerbin is rotating. It's rotating, and so where it shows that we're going to land isn't exactly where it's going to land, because you'll see as time moves by, we're just going to use up the rest of our fuel just to slow ourselves down a little bit more, because the last time I attempted this, part of the ship actually blew up in re-entry, and I lost all of my science data. So here we go. We're gonna get a little bit closer. Jebediah is just happy to be here. I'm going to rotate my ship and get rid of my last stage because we no longer need it. It's just dead weight. And now all we have is the command module and all of our scientific instruments. And our heat shields. So now I'm just going to do my best to keep my ship pointed retrograde. I can still move it there if I need to. You'll notice I've got radiators right there too. Those radiators are an attempt to keep the parts from overheating. That's, as far as I know, that's the only usage that I've found for radiators right now. Feel free to comment if you know of better uses for radiators. And feel free to comment, if you know better ways. Yeah, once again, I'm an amateur, but here we go. We're at 54,000. First time I played, I didn't know you had to activate radiators. So let's be sure and do that and not just waste their usage. I could have put that on a hotkey, but I wasn't too worried about it. Alright, we're at 40,000. We need to get like halfway through the atmosphere to get to a safe height where we don't risk burning any parts off. And you'll see we're above 2,000 meters per second right now. If we had just tried to plummet straight from the Mun to Kerbal, we probably would be over 3,000. Maybe even over 4,000. And so attempting to break through the atmosphere, oh, we're heating apart. Alright, so at this point we just tumble a little bit, and what that's going to do is that's going to transfer heat to different parts of our ship, and you can see the heat monitor disappearing there and reappearing. And now we are going so slow, we're going less than 1,000 meters per second, and we're halfway down through the atmosphere, so the temperature no longer matters. So we made it through by wobbling our spaceship like that, and we didn't use too much ablator either. So we had plenty of ablator left over, and for those of you who don't know, the ablator is what is on your heat shield that protects your ship from burning up. Now I'm just going to flip my ship back over so it's pointed retrograde, just because it bothers me if it's not. I designed the ship to land this way. And we'll deploy our parachutes and come down for a safe splashdown. Splashdown always feels violent, even though I know it's not. Alright, and then we recover our ship. Mr. G, what are you doing there? Alright, so we got a little bit of science that we recovered, and yeah, there you go. We'll get some money back on the parts that were recovered, and I don't think the crew will gain any experience. But there you have it. There's an amateur playing Kerbal Space Program. I probably over-engineered that spaceship, and probably the Prob as well, maybe, I'm not sure. And of course there's people out there saying you could have used different parts, but I haven't unlocked them in career mode yet. So, thank you for watching. I hope you learned a little something about KSP that perhaps you didn't know, and I hope you'll check out more videos on board games and more KSP videos to come. Thanks for watching. Check you next time.